Hello, good evening, and welcome to today's program. My name is Tunde Disu, and this platform is Become a Better Man. On today's program, we're continuing with the topic that we've been looking at since the past week or two on the issue of perfectionism. Perfectionism. But precisely for today's program, I'm asking a question. And the question is this: has your perfectionism, your desire to be a perfect person, has your perfectionism gotten out of control? Has it taken over your life? Has it become the vehicle that drives you? Has it become not just something you do, but something you are, or something that has almost enslaved you, something that has almost taken over all of the essence of who you are? And how is that affecting people around you? Not just to talk about even the effect of it on yourself, how is that affecting the people that are around you? You see, the image that comes to mind when you talk of perfectionist and perfectionism, the first thing people start to think about is, somebody whose shirts are well ironed, who has a very neat handwriting, who lists out his groceries list, who is very perfect in his outlook. He knows the right word to say. Basically, somebody without wrinkles, without stain, without blemish. Somebody that is all round perfect. But you see, all these are necessarily not what a perfectionist is. All these are the superficial concepts that some of us, or those of us who are praying to become perfect, who are still work in progress, the non-perfectionists, all these attributes are what we associate to the people that we regard and call perfect, or that we refer to as being perfectionist. But in reality, the truth is, perfectionism is a sign of deep internal turmoil, deep internal stress. There is a raging war going on the inside of people who proclaim or portray themselves as perfectionists. Perfectionists, because we see it as superficial, as what is on the surface, without understanding that it is deeper than that. So when we see people attributing or displaying these characteristics that we have come to associate as perfectionists, we don't think much about it. We don't see them as destructive behavioral patterns. We don't see the effect that they could be having on these people and the people around them, because those things are not obvious to us. They are not apparent. They are not something that you can see, because one of the characteristics of a perfectionist is the fact that they put up a front. They want you to see them as perfect. And therefore, the destruction, the damage that they're doing to themselves, we don't see it. And in most cases, they don't see it either. You see, perfectionism, like we said last week and the week before, perfectionism is about putting pressure on yourself to meet a high standard that you have set for yourself, which are in most cases unreasonable standard, which are in some cases unattainable standard. But those standards have powerful influences. They influence the way you think. They influence the way you carry yourself. They influence your view and your outlook to things around you and about you. But more than that, those influences, they have a way of keeping you ever down, because those standards are so high and unreasonable and mostly unattainable. you never measure up to the standard. And because you never measure up, you are constantly beating yourself up for not meeting those standards. When in reality, there was nothing you could have done. There was nothing within your power to meet those standards because they are unreasonable. So a perfectionist is somebody that is putting a lot of pressure on himself or herself and the people around them to meet these standards that they have set, which is unattainable and unreasonable. But they will beat themselves up. They will do everything to meet those standards. And when they don't meet them, which they can't do anyway, they then beat themselves up again for not meeting those standards. Perfectionist people who are regarded as perfectionists, they are usually dealing with a much deeper, darker issues in their personal self. Their reality, their views about life, the way they see themselves is always in the negative. And how can I say this? Irrespective of how you try to explain to them that this is not real, this is not real life, this is not the real you, they can't see it. They refuse to see what you are trying to say because to them, in fact, one of the worst things you can do to a perfectionist is to tell them nothing is perfect. Now, that is putting petrol in fire because to them, you are confirming the fact that they are not perfect. You are confirming to them the fact that they are not meeting this standard that they have set. When in actual fact, you're just trying to help them to see reality. You see, the truth is this, ladies and gentlemen, we all have the desire. We all want to be, we all crave and long to be perfect in our lives. To do things right, to say the right thing, to do the right thing, to look the right way, to act the right place. But you see, there is nothing wrong in all of that. However, it is when it becomes now a yoke around your neck, when it becomes a weight on your shoulder, that is when it is killing. That is when it is dragging you down. That is when it is not helpful for your health and for the people around you. Every human being wants to refuse and reject failure, mediocrity, inability, imperfection. Nobody wants them, and rightly so. But there is a difference between people who are called by what they love and those who are pushing and forcing themselves by what they are afraid of. They are putting themselves under a bondage, under a yoke, not because of what they love, but because of what they are afraid of. They are afraid primarily of failure. They are afraid of coming across to others as inadequate, as not enough, as shorting, as not perfect. So what drives perfectionists in most cases, what drives them is not the desire to do it right. It's not the desire to achieve these high standards. What drives them is the fear of what will people say about me? How will I come across on this matter? To them, it's not about what they do. It is more about what it looks like. It is the appearance that is the driving force behind perfectionists. To an outsider, the difference between perfect and imperfect usually is a bit gray. It's not completely clear to a lot of us. What you regard, what you would term, what you will describe as perfect, it's subjective. I can see it and say this is above perfect. Somebody else will see and say this is below average. So perfectionism, or perfect as it were, is subjective. But to the perfectionist, there is a mile gap, a mile long gap between the people who are genuinely ambitious, who are genuinely pursuing their goals and purpose, who are genuinely running after doing the best, and the people who are so petrified. But the fear they have is born out of the perception of feeling less, of feeling unworthy, of feeling inadequate. So in an attempt to overcome, in an attempt to dismiss that perception, they go to the far end and everything is lost. So the question I'm asking tonight is this. Maybe you are one of the people we're talking about. Maybe you know somebody who lives his or her life in this unending pursuit of being perfect. Maybe there is somebody that you have worked with. Maybe there is somebody even in your family, your spouse, your children, maybe your uncle, your brother, your sister, that is running themselves to the ground, all in an attempt to come across as perfect. You need to help them. And we will come to that later. Perfectionists, people who are under the bondage of perfectionism, they find flaws in everything. If they are married, they talk themselves out of the marriage. If they have a relationship, they find a reason why the relationship is not working. If they have a job, they find a reason why that job is not the right job, or that office is not the right office, or that environment is not conducive. A perfectionist will always find fault in everything, because to them, the standard is what they set, is how they set it. And those standards, like I said, are in most cases unreasonable and even unattainable. Perfectionist people will do anything. They will go to any length. They will give anything. They will sacrifice everything to construct a life that they think will convince people that they are perfect. The reality is, it's not about what they are, it's about what people see and how people see them. That is the driving force behind it. Let me give you, maybe you are saying, well, Tunde, I hear what you're saying, but you see, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm just an ordinary, I'm a normal person. Kudos to you, well done. But let's look at this example, because you see, sometimes this is something that people are either ignorant of, or they live in denial of this issue of being a perfectionist. So let's look at this example. Have you ever cried yourself to sleep? Have you ever beaten yourself up? Have you ever sulked and just be angry because you get a B+ in your exam? Have you ever been in a position where in your class, among your peers, maybe you came out second, and you spend the rest of the week complaining and griping and whinging and crying about, how can I come second? How can I not even be able to come first? Now, there's nothing wrong with coming first, but the reality is, that's just the name of the game. Once there is more than one of you, somebody will have to come first, and somebody will have to come second, and somebody will have to come last. But your issue is not even the fact that you are last in the class. You are second in the class, and you are just buried in complaints, buried in crying and in whinging and in wondering, what did I do wrong? How come I couldn't make it? How come this person is better than me? When you see that trait and that pattern in your life, my brother, my sister, you are actually a perfectionist. you are a perfectionist. Or rather, it is a sign that perfectionism is beginning to take control of your life, to rule your life. The alarm bell is going. The siren is blasting. The whistles are flaring to say, you are getting too close to the edge. So, how would you know if your perfectionism, your desire to be perfect, your drive, the motive, your every ounce of your body is begging and running and craving and giving everything for you to be perfect? Let's look at some of the traits that you will begin to see in your life or in the lives of others around you that will show you that this person is not just a perfectionist. It's gone to the next degree, and that next degree is now perfectionism is taking control over this person's life. Perfectionist is ruling this person. The essence of this person's life is no longer within their control. Something else has taken charge of their life. So, how would you know if perfectionism is now ruling your life? Quickly, let's look at some of the traits. And as we're going through this, what I need you to do is to ask yourself, be objective, be sincere, be open and honest with yourself. If you can't be honest with yourself, what chance have we got? Let us look at some of these things and ask ourselves, is that me? Because one of the ways to solve a problem is to identify that there is a problem. Don't bury your head in the sand pretending, no, it's nothing to do with me. No, it could be you. It could be me. So let's look at some of these signs that you are a perfectionist. Last week we looked at some, and one of the things we said was a perfectionist is somebody that is always very critical of everything and everyone, and everybody around them are not good enough, not tall enough, not short enough, not fat enough, not thin enough. There is always something wrong with the people in the lives of a perfectionist. And that was why I said last week, I said, it reminded me of a proverb that says, if you live with a judge, you're always on trial. Because you are never measuring up. There is something short about you. There's something not quite together about you. So quickly today, let's look at some more signs that somebody is being controlled, is being ruled, is being dominated. His or her life is being managed now by this spirit of perfectionism. Number one, you are a big procrastinator. You are a big procrastinator. What do I mean by that? When we started this topic, I said one of the things that will stop people from making progress, one of the things that will stop people from even starting anything is the spirit of procrastination. And that there is something even bigger than procrastination, and that is this perfectionism that we're looking at. So if you are big on procrastination, how would you know it? Let's look at it. See, the irony of perfectionism is that while it is characterized, one of the characteristics of perfectionism is an intense drive to succeed. It's an insatiable demand and pressure being put on yourself to be successful, to succeed, to come on top, to be the best, to have everything together. There's nothing wrong with that. However, that same drive to be successful, that same drive to succeed can be the very thing that is preventing your success. It could be the very thing that is holding you back from taking that step that you know you need to take. It could be the real thing that is handicapping you, that is tying you down from making the move that you need to make. You see, because perfectionism is driven not by the desire to succeed, even though that is what it looks like. Perfectionism is actually driven by the fear of failure. It is driven by a self-defeating behavior that says, what if I fail? What if it didn't come out the way I wanted it? What would people say? How would they think about me? What would they refer to about me? How would people see this? And so you turn analysis into paralysis in an attempt to get it right, in an attempt to make sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted and all the maybes and should be and could be and maybe, all of them are in place. The weather is right, the atmosphere is good, the time is right, the condition. While you are doing all of that, all in the name of you want to succeed, guess what is happening? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Time is going. Time is going. Time is going. And before you know it, you then turn around. A perfectionist will turn around and say, oh, I can't do it now. The time has gone. This is not the right time to do it. I think that season has passed. Guess what? Procrastination has just tied you up in a knot and stopped you from doing what you know to do. Let me ask you, and I want you to answer this to yourself, for yourself. Has there ever been a time in your life that you know this is what I am supposed to do now? And 2 years down the line, you are still writing your business proposal. You are still working on the cash flow analysis. You are still looking for the perfect pitch to give to your should-be investors. You are still looking at what are the pros of this and the cons of that, and what if this and that? Now, why about that? Have you considered the SWOT? Have you done the PERSTO? Have you looked at this? If you are in that category, number one, you're a perfectionist, and number two, you are procrastinating. So one of the telltale signs that your perfectionism has taken control over your life is that you are very big at procrastinating. You are very big at procrastinating. There's a type of perfectionism called other-oriented perfectionism. This is motivated by the desire for social approval, and is usually linked with the tendency to put tasks off. Oh, I don't think my colleague will see it that way yet. I don't think they're in a place to understand my point. I don't think they have the ability to see where I'm coming from. They won't be able to comprehend my viewpoint on this. And you keep putting these tasks off and off. Procrastination largely stems from the anticipation of approval from others. Procrastination, for a perfectionist, procrastination is a result of the anticipation, the eagerness, the desire to have the approval of others. And people will not approve what you have not done. So you're now in a catch-22 because they can't see what you're doing. There's nothing to approve. And because you're waiting for their approval, you are not doing anything. If you are a perfectionist, or if your perfectionist is taking control over your life, one of the ways to identify it is the fact that you're a big procrastinator. The next one is the fact that you are risk averse. You see, perfectionists are mostly risk averse, and this can inhibit innovation and creativity. They don't want to take risks. They don't want to step out onto the unknown. They would rather have everything symmetrically aligned, and all the signs are in fine arrangement. Every chain is linked together, rather than stepping out. Stepping out. Take the launch. Take the big step. Start it. I like Nike. He said, just do it. Just do it. But a perfectionist would rather say, well, you see, we can't just do it because we need to see what is happening in the FTSE 100. What will happen in Japan? What are the Chinese doing regarding this thing? Have you considered the emerging market in Africa? What? And before you know it, the desire, the fear of not taking risk is one of the signs that maybe it could just be that your perfectionism rather has taken over your life. See, many perfectionists struggles with the success. They struggle with success one moment and failure the next. Many perfectionists, they struggle with the idea, with the notion, with the concept of life. And life is, sometimes you succeed, sometimes you fail. But that is what they can't handle. They cannot handle the fact that sometimes you can fail. Sometimes you will fall short. Sometimes you will not be able to deliver. Perfectionists can't handle that. So they live perpetually on their latest accomplishment. And once there's any sign of failure, that's it. They are out. They are out. Perfectionists only take a new project. They will only start a new task. They will only step out into a new environment. They will only launch out into the unknown if they can be assured within themselves there is a greater chance of success. And that is why even at work, when they ask them to be part of a team, the first thing they do is they look at everybody in that team and they measure them based on the standard that they have set for themselves and say, oh, that one won't be able to deliver. That one won't be able to handle it. I don't think that one is knowledgeable enough. That hasn't got enough experience. And they say, no, I don't want to be part of that team. Because to them, that team is not perfect. To a perfectionist, life is they see life as all or nothing game. All or nothing game. When a perfectionist when perfectionists set their mind on something, they have the power and the drive and ambition, but it all leads to one thing, not the success. How will it look to others? How will others see this? Another way to ascertain that your perfectionism is taking control over you, you've gone over the board, is that you take everything personally. You take literally everything personally. There is no joke with you. There is no light mood with you. There is no room for objective criticism. There is no room for another view as far as you are concerned. Everything is personal to you. And because perfectionists take every step back as a personal criticism, they are less resilient to setbacks. When they fall flat. When they hit the ground, the whole neighborhood will hear the thump. Because to a perfectionist, everything is personal to them. Everything is, every setback, every failure, every mishap, every shortage, everything not in line is a reflection on themselves. That is how they see it. When in actual fact, there could be other contributing factors outside of their own personal control or circumstance that they can do anything about. But to a perfectionist, they can handle setbacks. And when there is a setback, perfectionists, they go down. Their resilience is almost zero. I did a program some months ago when we looked at resilience. If you haven't seen it, it's on my YouTube channel. Go and listen to that so that you can understand what we're saying. Because to a non-perfectionist, to somebody who doesn't live their life on a basis of all or nothing, on the basis of, look, if it works, thank God. If it doesn't work, let's learn from the mistake and let's go for it. They are very quick to bounce back from setbacks. So rather than bouncing back from challenges and mistakes and setbacks, perfectionists beat themselves down even more. They condemn themselves. They say things like, how can that happen? How can I be so stupid? That is so unbecoming of me. And they go on and beat themselves down and down and down until they've disappeared almost literally from the surface of the earth. They take every misstep as the truth, as the evidence of the truth of their deepest and continuous plague of fear. Everything that is not working to them is personal. And that is the fear that drives perfectionists. The fear for everything to be together. The fear of what people will say and how it will look and how it will be presented. That is where you hear people who are perfectionists. They will say things like, oh, I'm not just good enough. Oh, I am ugly. Nobody will want to hang out with me. How will anybody even consider somebody like me? When you hear things like that, it's a telltale sign that this person is not just a perfectionist, but the fact that the perfectionism is beginning to take control of their lives. Another telltale sign of somebody whose perfectionism has taken control of their life is that they have this, how can I say, they live in this world that says, well, I'm still working on it. I'm a work in progress. I'm not just there yet. They never arrive. They are always on the journey. They never come to a point where they will say, yeah, now we can move to the next one. To a perfectionist, this is never completed. There's always the need to just work on it a little bit, to tweak it a little bit, to change it a little bit, to push it a little bit, to do, and on and on and on. They will spend their life on that one thing. Perfectionism is an impossible pursuit. It's like chasing shadow. It's like the dog chasing its tail. It is an impossible pursuit. And that is why they have this tendency to say, I'm not just quite ready yet. I'm not just there yet. I'm not just able to do it now. Maybe we will need to re-examine this again. For the 27th time, we're looking at the same sentence. We're reading the same paragraph. We're checking the same project. We're considering the same cash flow analysis that we've been working on for the past 3 years since Noah was a boy. It's not just there yet. We just need to make sure that the effect of inflation will not erode all the profit. Hey, guess what? Life is going. Recently, or some time ago, Christina Aguilera, she was interviewed on InStyle magazine. And it's interesting that even at her level of achievement, at her place in the entertainment world, to her, her focus is that I haven't achieved it yet. I haven't accomplished anything yet. And that is what gives her the drive. This is what she says, that because she feels she hasn't arrived at it yet, she hasn't achieved anything yet. And that is the drive. That is what gives her the drive to constantly outdo herself. Now, that sounds great and pious and whatever. But the reality is, when would you arrive? When will you arrive? When will you agree that actually we've made progress? Actually, we've achieved something. Actually, we have something to show for the effort that we have put in all these years. When would you come to a point where you can say, this one is done, let's move to the next one? A perfectionist is never quite there yet. Another telltale sign that your perfectionism has taken control over your life is that you have a secret nostalgia about your school days. You always want to go back and live in those days of when you were in college, when you were in secondary school, when you were in nursery or in primary. But do you know the reality? A lot of people actually hated school. The school experience, not a lot of people really enjoyed it. Not a lot of people like it. In fact, not a lot of people want to go back to it. School? Are you for real? A lot of people, they dread just the thought of going back to, please. But to a perfectionist, that is what they live for. That is where that is their zone. That is where they want to be. Do you know why? Because school days, school experience gives them the ability to quantify success. They can put a figure, they can put their fingers, they can identify, they can locate a point called success. You know what I mean? Okay, let me explain. They know that if I hand in my assignment on time, if I do my studies, if I do my homework, I will get good grades. If I get good grades, I will get good feedback from my teachers. If I get good feedback from my teachers, I can show it off to everyone to say, see, look at me, look at me, look at me. So they live for that affirmation. But you and I know, we are all old enough to know that good as those days were, as wonderful as that experience was, when you come out of the gates of that school and you step into the real world, it's not black and white. It is not black and white. It doesn't work out that way. The structure, the school structure, there's an equation, there is a formula, there is a way that the school structure works. It says work hard, do well, and you'll be rewarded. Work hard, do well, and you'll be rewarded. And so perfectionists, they live in that comfort of work hard, do well, and you'll be rewarded. But you and I know when you come out to the real world, when you do a good job, you don't get any reward. I know that sounds like that's a shock to some of you. When you do a good job, you don't get any reward. When you do an excellent job, you get a good reward. When you do an outstanding job, you get an excellent reward. But because of that feeling of how it used to be at school, a perfectionist wants to live perpetually in that zone. they miss the idea of getting their assignment paper from the class teacher and it says A plus, very good. Being called up in front of the whole school in the assembly and say everybody clap for him or her. That is what perfectionists think the whole life will be like. And so when they come out of the school environment and that is not there, it becomes an issue. Another telltale sign that your perfectionism is now taking control and ruling over your life is that in some cases you take pleasure in other people's failure. It gladdens your heart. There is a feeling, there's a warmth feeling, there's a joy that just kind of oozes through your body when you see somebody else failing. To a perfectionist, misery loves company. Because a perfectionist, in reality, when the chips are down, a perfectionist is living perpetually in misery. They're never happy. They're never satisfied. There's no joy in their life. There is they just not happy people. So when they see somebody who is putting some effort and the person fails, the joy they have is not because you fail. The joy they have is because they consider, oh, he's not perfect. Because for a moment, it makes you feel better about yourself. That, well, actually, I'm not the only one that's not perfect. I'm not the only one that is not getting the result. I'm not the only one that is failing. Look at him. Look at her. And that feeling of I'm not alone, even though you don't see it, it is actually a telltale sign that your perfectionism has taken over your life. But on the long run, by enjoying or taking pleasure in the failure and in the setbacks that others are experiencing or have been through, you are only reinforcing the kind of competitive and judgmental thinking that is driving your perfectionism. By you enjoying the fact that your neighbor is failing, your neighbor, your friend is not meeting up, your cousin has issues, by you enjoying that, it goes further to reinforce the competitive and the judgmental thinking that has brought you to the point of perfectionism that you are. Are you identifying with any of these points that we're looking at tonight? How many of these would you say you can see traces, maybe not as much as I have described it, but there are traces of this that you have identified even in your own life? Maybe you know somebody. Maybe you work with somebody. Maybe somebody in your family. Maybe a relative, a long-distance friend, that you can identify some of these things that we're looking at tonight. And maybe it's time for you to help that person. And one of the ways you can help that person is to expose that person to this program. Share this program on your timeline so that they too can see it. And who knows? You might just be their helper. It might just be an avenue for you to open their eyes, or for their eyes rather to be open, for them to get understanding of what is happening in their lives. Another telltale sign that your perfectionism has taken control over you is that you get really defensive when somebody criticizes you. Irrespective of how objective and reasonable that criticism is, your fangs just goes up. The walls just go build up. You just immediately become heavily defensive. A perfectionist will always jump to defend themselves at even the slightest hint of criticism. And you know why they do that? Because they are trying to preserve their fragile self-image. They've already beaten themselves down. So they don't need you to add to that. So in an attempt to protect whatever is left of their fragile self-image, the moment you say something that is not, quote and unquote, edifying to them, their defenses goes up. A perfectionist will try to defend himself or herself when there is no need for defense, when all they needed to do was just open up their ears and have a receptive heart to hear what you are saying, because you can see what they can see about them. But to a perfectionist, no, don't even go there. If you have a hard time, if you have problems, if it's a challenge for you to open up to others about the issues in your life, about the challenges you are dealing with, about the obstacle that you are facing, if you have nobody in your life that you can turn to, irrespective of the situation, could it be that your perfectionism is controlling you? Because remember, we said the perfectionism is not about trying to succeed. They're not driven by success. They're not driven by the desire to be successful. No, the driving force behind perfectionists is the fear of failure. Is what will people say? How will it look? How will people perceive me if they hear about this? It's all about reputation protection. So if it's hard for you to open up to people, to have somebody you can turn to have a confidant, somebody you can open your heart to, could it be that your perfectionism is taking control over you? Most perfectionists have a strong armor, a heavy metal shield that they carry about to protect themselves from getting hurt. But in most cases, what they term as protection from getting hurt is simply a prevention from truly connecting with other people. They give it the title, I need to protect myself so that nobody will hurt me. I need to preserve myself so nobody will damage me. I need to just put myself in a place where nothing will touch me. But the reality is, it's not about protection. It is not about protection. It is all about prevention. They are preventing themselves from having interaction, from having connection, from having relationship with other people. Remember, a perfectionist's biggest issue is what will other people say? How will they see me? The intense fear of failure and rejection and criticism is the biggest issue in the life of a perfectionist. They have hard time letting themselves be exposed or be vulnerable to others, because that is against the grains for a perfectionist. They always feel that I must be strong. I have to show strength. I have to show courage. But behind that bravado, behind that facade, behind that showmanship or machoism or whatever you want to call it, there is a delicate broken shell on the inside. A perfectionist will avoid talking about personal fears or inadequacies or insecurities or disappointments or failures or setbacks. they will avoid to talk about it at all costs, even when those people with whom they can share it are their closest. That is why you will hear, for instance, some couples, husband and wife, been married for 10, 15 years, and then something will happen. And one of them say, are you serious? You mean you've been dealing with that for this long? Because to a perfectionist, it is not the issue of what they're dealing with. The issue is, what will people say about what I'm dealing with? A perfectionist have a guilty soul. They carry a soul that is permanently feeling guilty. Underneath all the facade and the see me, I am prim and proper. Look at me, I am suited and booted. Look at me, I am the best thing since sliced bread. All that showmanship that a perfectionist is putting forward, underneath it all, perfectionists are plagued with guilt and shame. Self-imposed shame. Self-imposed guilt. Even for not done anything, they feel guilty. They feel ashamed of themselves. Do you know why? Because like we said at the beginning, they set a standard for themselves that is unreasonable and unattainable. And because they can't attain, they can't achieve, they cannot meet that standard, there is a sense of guilt that they carry on the inside. There is a sense of shame that they carry on the inside. And those things are like cancer. They eat you up from the inside out. Perfection is not about striving for excellence. It's a way of thinking and feeling and portraying and carrying themselves in a way that says, if I look perfect, if I do it perfectly, if I work and live perfectly, then I can avoid or minimize the shame and the blame and the judgment of others. But the reality is, nobody is even thinking about you. Get over yourself. Nobody is even talking about you. Everybody's got issues in their lives, and they have enough of their own issue to contend with, rather than spending hours and days and weeks thinking and talking about you. Everybody has something they are contending with in the corner of their houses. And so they are more concerned, they are more consumed, they are more focused on that than thinking about what you are wearing, the car you're driving, the food you are eating, the restaurant you are eating from, the grocery shop where you're buying. Do you know that some people, when I discovered this, I don't even know what to say. There's some people there's some people in the midst of all of this there's some perfectionists. They do their shopping from, say for argument's sake, and please, I don't mean this in a derogative way. They do their shopping from Lidl, but they go to Lidl with a bag from Waitrose. So they buy the things from Lidl and put it in a bag of Waitrose and carry the bag. The truth of the matter is, who cares where you buy your groceries from? I'm not paying for your groceries. You're not paying for mine. So what's my concern where you buy it from? Why should I be bothered whether you will see that I'm buying from Lidl? Why not? But to a perfectionist, they have to be seen that they are doing their shopping from the designer clothes or whatever you want to call it. And that is why a lot of them end up in a lot of debt, in a lot of problems, in a lot of issues. Buying things they don't need, with money they don't have, to impress people that they don't like, and then go home and cry about it that they didn't. I can't believe she just walked past me in church, didn't even say hello. No, it is not the hello you are looking for. You just want them to say, oh, wow, I like your dress. Look at your shoes. Hallelujah. That's all you're looking for. Meanwhile, you have already incurred the debt to buy that shoe. Who cares? It's your problem. So when your perfectionist has come to a point that you carry a guilty soul, your perfectionism has taken over your life. Ladies and gentlemen, as we round up tonight, some of what we've said tonight, I can identify them in my life and in the life of others that I know. And I'm sure you too can. You can say, oh, he got my number there. That is talking about me. But whatever it is, the biggest, or rather one of the best ways to kill perfectionism is to just be authentic. Just be authentic, be real. Just be who you are, not who you want others to see you to be. Just relax. Life is not that difficult. Life is not that unbearable. There are ups and downs and in-betweens in life. And that is what makes it life. Just be authentic. Practice authenticity. Authenticity. Be who you are. Let others see you exactly as you are. And let go of this desire to protect yourself, to preserve yourself, to portray yourself as a perfect person. When the reality is, we are all work in progress. We are all work in progress. Authenticity is a practice that you choose it. It's a practice that you choose it every day, and sometimes every hour of every day, and you say to yourself, this is who I am, this is who you're going to see. What you see is what you get. What you see is what you get. There is no second shell. This is who I am. This is Tunde. This, if you wake me up at 2 a.m., at 7 in the morning, at 4 p.m. in the evening, at whatever time of the day, this is who you're going to see as Tunde Disu. Life is too sweet for us to sour it, all in the name of, I want to impress people that can't be bothered. Oh my goodness. Our time is up. But just as a way of rounding up, let's look at quickly some effect of perfectionism. Especially, the reason I want to look at these few lines is because this has specifically to do with the effect of perfectionism on your health. On your health. Nothing else, just your health. Perfectionists, they are more likely to have chronic and unexplained fatigue and pain syndromes like fibromyalgia or myalgia, because they live their life perpetually forcing and striving to do what they are not supposed to. So they are constantly and permanently tired. They have pain and they just carry burden. A perfectionist will say, I don't have time to take care of myself. I must be the perfect mother or the perfect father or the perfect boss or the perfect friend. Until one day, the body will say, okay, go and be the perfect, but I'm going to take some rest here. Another effect of perfectionism on your health is that it causes an unbearable amount of stress. And this level of stress that perfectionists put on themselves can lead to things like heart disease or irritable bowel syndrome. Stress, it chews you up from the inside. Perfectionism can lead to anorexia. But guess what? So does perfectionism can lead to obesity. Because when a perfectionist, when they feel they have dropped the ball, when they feel they've made a mistake, remember I said earlier on, they have very little resilience. And so when they make mistake, they just say, what's the point? I might as well give up now. And they eat themselves to obesity. Perfectionists are more likely to struggle with depression or anxiety. But worse than that, they are more likely to commit suicide. They are more likely to commit suicide. And in most cases, they are daily committing suicide little by little by little by little until one day the rope will snap, pam, and that'll be it. Ladies and gentlemen, there is more to life, you know. There is so much to life than to live a life for the purpose of pleasing others, for the purpose of trying to be what you are not. You cannot live your life permanently on a theater stage, acting and performing. There has to be a time when you come down from the stage and go to your house and just be yourself, where there are no audience, when the lights are out, the cameras are down, the audience have gone home, the clapping have stopped. Just be yourself. If you can do that, you will see. And maybe for the first time, you will begin to enjoy the true meaning and the sweetness of life. I hope something that we said tonight, I hope you have been able to pick one or two things from all that we have said tonight. I hope the program tonight has given you something to think about. Remember, the essence of this platform is so that we can become better at who we are primarily, and become better at what we are and how we do and how we relate and how we fellowship and all of that. That is why it's called become a better person. Become a better you, become a better man. And I hope that tonight, as we have looked at this topic, something has added some value to you. Remember, we have a purpose. We have a destination. We are going somewhere. There is a goal that is set before us. There is a land, there is a wealthy place that is ahead of us. A land flowing with milk and honey. And all we're doing as we are on this journey of discovery, as we move together as one body towards this promised land, all we're doing is just shedding off some unnecessary weight and putting on all that we need to be who we should be when we arrive at this destination. So hang on with me. Don't give up now. Don't cave in. Don't throw in the towel. Don't say, I have tried and that's the end of it. No, there is more to you. There is so much more in you that are yet to be discovered. And as we take every step one at a time, you will discover your new self and your better self. And so when we arrive finally at the destination, if nobody will say it, you and I will look at each other and say, do you know what? We've had some fun on this journey, but it is well worth it. Because we are better men and better women for the journey. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I thank you. I thank you because every week as I prepare for this program, my heart just goes out to say, even if it's just one person that will be blessed and I will get something out of this for this week, it's worth the effort. It's worth the time. It's worth the commitment. Thank you for giving me the honor to serve you in this way. I do not take it for granted. Until we meet next week, we're going somewhere. And we're going there together, all the way. You know what the Marine says? Leave no man behind. We will all arrive at our destination. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll catch up again next week. Bye-bye now.